I wanted to do this video here to give my opinions about this ongoing situation with suicide rates of teenagers, and I think that's relevant because if anybody has studied just about anything as far as the media, you can see that there is a definitive change in attitude about how the two genders, men, women, girls, boys, have changed over the past 40 years. And a lot of it has to do with what women believe to be the change in attitude about how women are seen as not so much equal as they were or have been to they're better, they're superior to men in every aspect. And you laugh, but I cringe of how I can look at ads every single day, and I can see how there's an overtone of the promotion of whatever they're selling as being that the woman or the girl or the child is always the woman or a female character, and that they're seen as better than their male counterpart. And I make reference to ads and television because this is what teenagers really base their whole lives on, other than what they do on the internet. They don't have any other real social contact with their friends other than what they initially watch growing up on television. And children are certainly subjected to a lot of real devaluing material that they see on TV now compared to even when I was growing up. And I just I just feel compelled to say to whoever watches this video, if you know somebody who has suffered suicide, or if you have a friend who is right now dealing with depression or feeling devalued, I would say that you can blame it really on society and its attitude about just how each gender sees itself. I mean, for 2,000 years, men have been the dominant figure. And people will say, well, that's changed. Yeah, it has changed. But really, has it changed for any better to society, to humanity, that men are now degraded by women? That they have to fear, men have to be inferior in every aspect when it comes to showing their female counterparts in anything, ads, television, movies. And I say it's not helped society in any way since they have started this change in their viewpoints. Society is degrading, it's degenerating, and I think everybody can see that, because when children can be drowned in lakes by their own mothers or put in ovens and killed, it's the next step, the next inevitable step beyond abortion, because when women had the right to kill unborn babies, they were given the right to kill and murder. And in 40 years' time, I can remember a case of this woman who, she had 2 children, and her husband was a preacher. And this took place in Alabama. Anyway, the media discussed this case that he was cheating on his wife. So guess what? His wife comes home one day, takes a gun, and blows him away in the back. And when she does this, what does she do? She doesn't turn herself into the police. She takes the kids, and of all places, she takes them to her now dead husband's parents' house. And then she goes to the police, turns herself in, and that's the last time anybody heard about this case. And I can tell you probably 10 to 1, it's just like the Kaylee Anthony case. Kaylee Anthony murdered her daughter and then turned around and said, I don't know where she is. And all the evidence proved that she had buried her child off the property. And anyway, I don't know if this is true. My mother told me this, but Kaylee Anthony stated that when she got out of jail, she intended to get pregnant as soon as possible to have another child. And it's anyone's guess whether that child is dead now, if she had another one. And this is the attitude that has changed in society about how women are now definitely seen as a double standard, not so much in the judicial system, but so much that what they do is not considered a valid justification for being held accountable for their actions. And that if a man did the same thing, that he should be butchered or executed immediately, but not women. Women are not seen that way. That they can be that they can be cured of whatever this problem is they've got, and they can go right back into society again. And it's like when a child grows up and they hear this stuff and they see this stuff on television, it's the attitude that women see themselves being superior to men, to the point that from the day the child is born, they're preaching it to them. They're telling them. They're just overemphasizing the fact that, if you're a girl, you have to live your life the way that your parents are trying to brainwash you into believing that society today is all about you, and that if you're a boy, you're out of the picture. You're out of the whole equation of society, because you're not important anymore. That only women are important. And just watch any ad, listen to anybody talking about what matters in the world today, and it will be that whatever a woman wants, she's going to get it, and that the man is a bystander. He's a secondary individual in any family relationship, and that is, to me, that's the biggest travesty, because a family unit has always been the man and then the woman, because that's how, number one, that's how God created it to be, and number two, if people say, oh, that's outdated, well, let me ask you a question. For 2,000 years, it's been that way, and it's worked, because if you see how society has degenerated down in just 40 years' time since women's lib started in the United States and the world, it's just unbelievable how close to complete collapse our society has become, our civilized world has become, because of that attitude change between what men and women were and what they are today in our society. And I don't think there's any hope of us switching things around again, because the more women take control of every aspect, and the more that they can advertise this stuff and brainwash the child, the more these kids grow up not knowing what they are, not knowing where they fit in that relationship. And that's why these girls, I've heard of a case not too long ago where this girl went up to the top of a building or possibly an apartment complex, and she jumped. And they said it was because of she was so depressed over her life. And I would say that possibly this girl had so much put on her by her parents, by her peers, by her perceptions of what she was expected to be by society, that it overwrought her. She did not feel like she could cope with that situation. And you know what? These are tragedies that could be averted if society would just stop pushing about the one gender being better or overbearing over another. Because the more you do that, the more unhinged everybody becomes. And that's from the small child that's learning on television to the teenager who is now going to school and hearing the same stuff from not only their friends but from their teachers, and about the fact that when they become adults, society is going to again push that the woman is more important in the equation than the man, because they have to be in control over everything. And that's why when I see and hear about these tragedies that happen with these teens and them killing themselves, I can understand why they're doing this. Because they don't get what they are anymore. They don't understand where they fit, how they fit in a society that's completely upside down like it is today. And nobody will ever fix the problem until we get it back on the track that it really has always worked. That if society is going to survive, there's a set of rules everyone follows, because that's how it's supposed to work. And it has worked. And if you say otherwise and say, well, that's archaic or that's outdated or you're behind the times, look, folks, I'm telling you what history has shown. I'm not telling you something just on my own assumptions. I'm telling you, I've looked at history. I've looked at how society has gone beyond just being an everyday routine. There were certain things there that worked, and it survived. And now everything around us is just totally just crumbling. It's just deteriorating. That's why you have homosexuals who are just so overwrought about their own identities that they have to push it on everybody else. You've got to accept me for what I am. That's what they keep telling everyone. And you know why? It's because they're butting heads with what nature, what God had intended for mankind to be. You go against the grain, something's not going to work. It's not going to mesh, because that's not how it was intended to be in the first place. And if society will survive at all in the past or in the next 20, even 10 years, it has to get back to some sort of normalcy. Sanity has to come back into the equation again, not insanity. If insanity continues as it is, all humanity will face is oblivion, because something has to give somewhere. Something has to just be stopped, and it has to say, that's it. That's as far as we can go with this. And I would have to tell you all that either the rapture has to happen, and it's going to just totally crumble any idea you had that this abnormal world can exist and flourish, or there's going to be a nuclear holocaust, and then everything will be obliterated anyway. So mankind will have to start over. So I just wanted to share with you my personal thoughts about why things are so totally messed up in this world today, and why it really needs to get back to its very foundations as a civilized world, because otherwise nothing else will save it. Thank you.